Excellent. So I'm tuning in tonight from a very warm London. This is part two of part two. So if you happen to have spotted another part two where you don't hear me and there's no sound, this is part two of a series of 4 mini videos on a very important topic. I have been asked by many clients about how we can ensure a better night's rest. This is a topic that's very close to my heart. I have periods of time where I sleep really well, and then I have periods of time where I either can't fall asleep or I have incredibly vivid dreams that wake me up, or I wake up at night. So a framework that has really helped me in the past and continues to is to use the seasons as a framework. So spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And part one, we looked at how spring, which is the very start of your day, from when you wake up to when you choose to really let the outside world of work in. And this part is about the season of summer. So summer makes me think of very productive time. So you might think of sunflowers in full bloom, or you may think of very busy bees. And what we know is that even flowers rest, and so too do bees. So my question to you is, if you want to stay incredibly busy and productive, one of the principles that we know in terms of sustaining high performance is the best way to do that, if you want to avoid burnout or poor health or problems with issues like sleep, is you want to oscillate rather than have linear high performance. So what is oscillation? Oscillation is a bit like a wave where you have periods of high performance and busyness interspersed with periods of rest. This does not mean having to take a power nap or siesta. It can literally be 1 or 2 minutes, maybe every hour, maybe every 90 minutes, where you check in with yourself. The best thing to do is to check in with your breathing, certainly to check in with your posture and any kind of tension and constriction. A lot of us carry a lot of stress and tension in our bodies. So I carry a lot of tension in my jaw. Some of us may hunch our shoulders. And so allowing yourself to not only become aware of your breath and to potentially breathe deeper into the belly, but to also give yourself permission to let go of tension during your day. And guys, you can literally do this while you're watching a video or while you're on a Zoom call or another Teams meeting. It's more about the permission than the mechanism. And the more frequently you do it, the more you can fire that neuron, and neurons that fire together wire together. So back to the analogy of a musical instrument. In part one, I explained how when you start your day off right, it's a bit like tuning yourself. So just like you would tune a guitar before you played it, or a piano, so that it sounds harmonious, your body should be tuned in order for you to get the best sound and tune and the best harmony. But likewise, music wouldn't sound great if it didn't have pauses in between the notes. So the next time you listen to a piece of music, perhaps become conscious of, actually, if there wasn't pauses, it would just be this raucous noise. So another way to see how in nature, when we look at not just the seasons, but if we look at things like music too, how pauses are incredibly important. So we generally live in a culture that, well, certainly before the crisis that we found ourselves in with this global epidemic, gave a badge of honor for busyness and exhaustion. But that, I think many of us have had a good retake on, which makes me very joyful. So what you can do, or what I would recommend, is perhaps set an alarm for midday. Start with once a day. And when the alarm goes off, or when you stop to have lunch, I hope you are stopping to have lunch, that's a very important pause, is to become aware of your breath, perhaps placing one of your hands on your chest and the other hand on your belly. And then just notice which hand is moving the most. Many of us tend to take very shallow breaths using our chest when we're quite stressed and in front of our computers. And perhaps then allow yourself to breathe deeper into your belly. And then this is the secret ingredient, is when you exhale, give yourself permission to rest. So that means if you notice any tension in your jaw, allow your tongue to drop to the bottom of your mouth. If you notice that your shoulders are maybe hunched, let them fall towards the ground. And it's in that moment of permission and perhaps taking a few deep inhales and slower exhales that you train your body to rest. Why is this important? If we think of sleep as the final event, so being able to surrender and give into sleep really is a miracle. And if you were a professional athlete, you wouldn't just show up at a very important event without training. You would practice, you would give yourself the muscle memory so that you knew how to do the event at your best. And giving yourself permission to rest in small ways during the day is a bit like preparing and giving yourself muscle memory for when you want to really surrender and show up for the big important event, which is sleep at the end of the day. So perhaps that's another analogy that may work for you. Something also that's important is if you're trying to rest, you don't want to keep stimulating your body. Stress stimulates us, it produces a lot of cortisol, which is pro-inflammatory. Cortisol, especially if it lingers in your system at high levels, and it's not a question of whether we have cortisol today, it's like how much, could also impact sleep. And also when you don't allow yourself time during the day to fully process emotions or to be present with difficult emotions, which many of us will feel as we move through the different cycles of stress and change, is when you are most relaxed and surrendered during sleep. That is when potentially your mind will then say, okay, now you're going to pay attention because now there's nothing else distracting you. So think about that in the day when you allow yourself to rest. Maybe ask yourself, how am I in this moment? Like, what am I thinking and feeling? There's no judgment. There's no right or wrong here, guys. We haven't been through what we're going through, remember? So there's no definite roadmap. All we know is that sleep and rest is incredibly important, and many of us are struggling with it. And looking at how you approach your day, which is the bulk of your 24 hours, can be very interesting for how you approach sleep. Another thing to consider is how much stimulants you're taking in, perhaps in the form of caffeine or energy drinks, also in the form of sugar or fast releasing foods. So it may be useful for many of us to stop taking in caffeine after midday. Switch to decaf or try herbal teas. And so I think that is enough for considering the season of summer. If you would like more tips like this, I've put together a short PDF that I would love to send to you. I just need to know that you're interested. So leave me a comment along with this video and I'll share that with you. And I'd like to invite you to not underestimate how moments of mindfulness and rest sprinkled in your day can help you give permission to your body and your mind to rest, so that at the end of the day, it doesn't become this enormous feat, but becomes something that you've actually practiced, something that your body is used to, that your mind is actually familiar with. So perhaps as a takeaway, because if you've watched this video, I'd like this to be very valuable for you, is set a reminder in your alarm for tomorrow at midday and take a break. Maybe start with 2 minutes. If you can build that up to 5 minutes, great. And once you're doing 1 or 2 minutes at midday regularly, maybe then try do that mid-morning and mid-afternoon. And perhaps over time, over the next coming weeks and months, you could build to a place where maybe every hour you actually check in with yourself. How am I? Check in with your breathing. Are you breathing deeply into your belly? Could you let go of a little bit of tension on your exhale? And may those little sprinklings of rest help you stay not just a busy bee, but also one that can actually find the beautiful surrender and importance of sleep, which surely is our superpower. Stay tuned next week for part 3, where I will take you through the season of autumn and we'll go through the 5 seasons. Not seasons, we'll go through the season of autumn using the 5 senses. So what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you hear, and what you touch, as ways to help you ensure a good night's rest. Thank you so much. See you then.